Today, I want to take you through the process of how I augmented and edited two versions of the same shirt. Both will be plaid men's button up shirts with a collar stand and long sleeve, but one will be cut entirely on the bias, which means at a 45-degree angle. And the other, I tried to add a built-in scarf into the shoulder seam and sleeve hole before sewing the shirt together. The pattern that I'm working with for this, and I've used 3 times now, is McCall's M6044. I cut mine in the large size. I thought it would give me a little bit of room to work with and to tailor in, but actually it fit me perfectly. I've gained a little bit of weight in the past 2 years or so. And so I've gone up from a 40 to a 42 in chest size in my shirting and tailoring. I'll be using a cotton plaid. It's a plaid that I bought at Joann's. And what I had decided was I would cut the first shirt on the bias. When fabric is cut on the bias, it is less rigid. It is able to mold to the body contours, especially curves, and that means it's a little bit more difficult to sew. Because I am using a heavyweight fall or winter weight cotton flannel, I don't really run into this problem during the process, but when you're using silk fabrics and slinky fabrics like a charmeuse or something like that, you may need to sandwich in a piece of tissue paper when you run your fabric through the machine. Another thing you can do is you can stay stitch like you do around the collar around all your pattern pieces, and that does help a little bit. But because, again, mine was so heavy, it didn't really need that kind of support. When you are ordering fabric or buying fabric in the store, you are going to have a lot more waste when you cut on the bias. And that also means if it's a long piece like a dress, you may have to put a seam at a 45 on the dress. You may not be able to get your whole dress cut on a 45 when the fabric is 55 inches wide or 60 inches wide. So it's something to consider as a design aspect, but what I will say is in the aftermath of it, I absolutely love the way that shirt turned out. I executed this shirt pretty much the same. I extended a couple inches in the sleeve and in the body, also in the facing. Remember to do that. And then I exaggerated the hem on the bottom of the shirt a little bit. I love the curvature at the bottom hem just to make it a little more dynamic. I also left large slits in the side so that it could be worn if I wanted to wear it around the house or at night or something like a pajama. I liked this shirt pattern so much, I decided I would use it as a basic block for me moving forward. But I wanted to start to augment with new pattern pieces and things I could do, adding epaulettes, putting pockets in different areas, and I came up with an idea to do a built-in scarf. So the idea here is I bought a bit of fabric from Joann's before they went away, and it was a orange plaid. Online it looked neon pink, and so it looked really nice. However, when I received it, it was clearly orange, and I wasn't able to make it look good with my skin tone. It just doesn't look good on me. I considered making a shirt for a friend, and then a friend of mine recommended that I just dye the fabric. I took cherry red from Rit and I dyed the fabric. I cut the pattern pieces out prior, and so I had less fabric to dye, and I threw a couple extra pieces in the dye bath so that if I made a mistake or had to make something else, I had already dyed fabric to do so. So you'll see in the video me dyeing the fabric. It took some time. I wash the fabric out as much as possible. It usually takes me a couple hours. Wring it out as much as I can with cold water. And then I begin to dry it and sew up the shirt. Once I'm done with the shirt, I need to re-wash and soak the fabric and then treat it with the Rit dye fixative treatment so that the dye stays. I did have an issue where 2 years ago I dyed white cotton t-shirts in autumnal colors, but 6 months down the road during a wash, they released a lot of their dye and I had a lot of my clothes catch on to that dye. That's completely fixable, but it is annoying and frustrating, and it is avoidable. When I was cutting out the pattern pieces before dyeing, I decided to build the scarf. A shirt that I am referencing for this is an Alexander McQueen harness shirt from the menswear collection. This is my reference point for this shirt. It has standard set sleeves. It has this harness detail, but the harness begins on the opposite side of the shirt. It comes across the back, down past the right sleeve, and over the shoulder on the right side, and then has this buckle detail here. At first look, it seems to be that this is all top stitched down as a decorative motif. What I later found was that this piece had been constructed with the harness in place as the sleeves were set. So it's a really beautiful piece. I'll show you close-ups of what is going on there. But the plaid is cut in a contrast bias versus the standard straight cut with the grain on the body of the shirt. I took this and ran with it. I used this with abandon with this shirt. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a scarf that could be thrown over the shoulder. Realistically, I didn't have a lot of fabric left and I wanted to cut the scarf on the bias. I wish in hindsight I had made the scarf wider. And so what that means is you'll see in the video, I put the shoulder seam pattern piece on the bias on my leftover fabric and I cut straight down from that piece, meaning that the scarf will attach in the neck hole, the shoulder seam, and the armhole on the right hand side. While I don't mind this in the final product, and I think it still looks good, there's a little pulling at the sleeve hole that I don't like when I throw the sleeve over my shoulder. And when the sleeve is down and worn in the front, it's very narrow and skinny, and that to me looks very European. I live in an area where the winter gets cold, and so the point of this was to be able to throw something around my neck and have my neck protected, but not have to bring a scarf with me. And also just for the look, to have it look a little bit draped in a way and have it just be slightly subtle, matching color, so it's very straightforward. I do wish I had more fabric to use in the scarf, and what I would have done was kept the same width at the top at the shoulder seam. But as the scarf got longer, it would have also gotten wider. And so there would be some aspect of billowing towards the hem of the scarf. That would have given me a lot more fabric when I went to drape across my chest. It would have added a lot more ripples as opposed to folds and crease dynamics in the drapery. I think it would have also made the shirt a lot heavier, which maybe is not a good thing in this circumstance. But overall, you can see the architecture of the shirt looks really interesting. It's really compelling, and it was very simple to make. You can take this idea with the upper body part of your pattern piece, and you can alter it to do so many different things with your shirt. You don't have to add on a scarf. You can take that top bodice piece, cut it off, and cut these in different fabrics and make your shirt color blocked. You can do a lot of things that will change the design subtly, but completely alter the way the shirt looks on the body. Hopefully that gives you guys some help. I wanted to just kind of show you what I was working with. It's getting really warm here, and so I probably will not be able to wear this shirt anytime in the near future, but I have worn it around the house and I can show you how it drapes, how it falls, and how it moves. So thanks for watching.